guest for today for inaugurating the Distribution Utility Meet 2021, Mr. Vishal Kapoor, Joint Secretary Distribution, Ministry of Power, Government of India. And Mr. Kapoor holds a mechanical engineering degree from IRIMEE Jamalpur and also a Masters of Public Administration from Lee Kuan Yew's School of Public Policy. And he has previously worked with Ministry of Railways and currently he is the Joint Secretary Distribution in Ministry of Power. So with that, I would like to invite Mr. Kapoor to please deliver our inaugural address for DUM 2021.
Thank you, Reena, and good morning to everyone. At the outset, I would take this opportunity to commend the contribution made by the power sector, especially by our people from the distribution utilities in supporting the vital services by maintaining continuous power supply even in the unprecedented situation arising out of COVID-19 pandemic. The whole world has adapted to COVID challenges, and I can see that DOM has also adapted. We are seeing the DOM now being held online, and compliments to ISGF and the whole DOM team for adapting and continuing this dialogue process. Power sector and particularly the electricity distribution in the country has seen a tremendous growth during the past few years, and all out efforts have been made to ensure electricity access to not only village and habitations but also to all the willing households. However, that said, financial health of distribution utilities has become a matter of concern and has adversely been affecting some of their operational efficiencies and ultimately their ability to provide 24/7 uninterrupted quality and power supply to consumers. This has also been flagged by several of the speakers who spoke before me. Financial sustainability, as we know, is the greatest challenge of the most of the state-owned discoms, as they continue to post significant financial losses and that to a varying degree. There has been an increasing trend in discom dues towards GenCos, and this is one of the major telltale signs of this problem. Outstanding dues currently stand at somewhere around 98,518 crores at the end of October 21. The major reason that we believe that the discoms are not able to meet their costs through revenues include operational efficiencies in metering, billing collection, theft prevention, leading to high AT&C losses. That is one part of the story. Tariffs not being reflective of the costs, that is another part. And the third is which is causing a significant problem, especially in the cash flows, is the mismatch between the payments and receivables. Receivables are also on the increase, and even though and the payables also, receivables, a major chunk of which is coming from non-payment of dues by the government departments and delayed payments of subsidies and shortfall of subsidies by the state governments. As a result, what we have seen at the end of 2020 is AT&C losses, even though they have been coming down progressively from levels of around 36% in the year 2001 to almost around 20.9% in end of 2020, but still it is appreciably higher even compared to countries like Bangladesh, which have I think levels down to around 12% today. The ACS ARR gaps have slightly improved over the years, and over the last 1 year, in fact, from 1819 to 1920, it has come down to 60 paisa. It was much higher earlier in 1819, which was one of the worst years in terms of the national aggregate performances. History tells us that adversity brings about major changes and reforms, on which and probably we are facing one of those epoch-making events right now. The government has been working on a three-pronged approach. Just a second. The thing is that the three-pronged approach we are following. Number one is achieving real decoupling between the state finances and the discom finances, addressing the regulatory ecosystem, and last but not the least, the operational and financial efficiency of discoms, which definitely needs improvement. we've taken several initiatives in this regard. One was a liquidity infusion scheme that was to address the cash flow issues that had arisen around the COVID times. But in response to that, we have sanctioned almost 1,35,000 crore of loans, long-term transition loans, against which we are seeking the discoms to bring certain reforms. Then another major things that has been recently launched by the Ministry of Finance in consultation with the Ministry of Power is the additional borrowing space of 0.5% of GSDP to the states linked to power sector reforms. There are several reform measures that the discoms, if they take, the states will be able to get 0.5% of additional borrowing of their state GSDPs. The reforms are generally across all the interventions across almost the same, which center around government payments, subsidies to be pulled up, reduction of AT&C losses, ACS ARR gaps, energy accounting, metering, and these kind of measures. In fact, in additional borrowing, the scheme, I think some bonus marks have also been provided for public-private participation. One of the major interventions from the Ministry of Power has been the revamped distribution sector scheme. This scheme was launched recently, about 4-5 months back, at an overall outlay of 3,03,000 crores and an estimate gross budgetary support of 97,000 crores. One of the major objectives is reduction of AT&C losses to levels of 12 to 15%. And the other one is to eliminate the ACS ARR gaps. This scheme is linked to reforms and achievement of results. So as opposed to the earlier infrastructure creation schemes, this scheme differs in a major way that the grants from the government will be only linked if to the achievement of results. If the results are achieved, then the payouts go out. Otherwise, there are no payouts. But at the same time, 50% of the scheme also is focused towards installation of smart meterings and a rollout across the country. What we envisage is that by December 2025, we should be able to cover 25 crore consumers. But in the initial phase, major cities, Amrut cities, all government departments, rural areas, more than 25% AT&C losses, urban areas, more than 15% losses. We have prioritized that almost 10 crore consumers will get these connections, these smart meter connections, by the end of December 2023. To facilitate the states and discoms plan switch over to the switch over of their consumers to smart metering, standard bidding documents have been finalized after extensive stakeholder consultations. It has also been decided to leverage design, build, finance, own, operate, and transfer DB foot model of public-private partnerships. This will mitigate the problem of arranging outright capex for installation of monetarily sensitive smart metering, intensive smart metering solutions by crowding in private investments. It also includes technology-based payments, security mechanisms to provide comfort to the private investment. One of the other major things is that the lending to the discoms against the payables and their payables or against regulatory assets, has several kind of non-capex loans have been going into the system, even in some ways probably also for loss financing, or there are in some way or the other. We need to constrain that because availability of easy credit has been identified as one of the reasons why things are probably not improving. PFC and REC approximately cover almost 50% of the power sector loans, and recently both the companies have come out with additional prudential norms, which are basically revolving around the same set of basic reforms in regard to government payments, fiscal discipline, state government dues, AT&C, SES-ARR gaps, tariff filing, and unless and until the states have or the discoms have made all efforts and they meet these requirements, funds from PFC and REC would not be available. And we are very hopeful that shortly all the other banks and financial institutions shall also be adopting these norms progressively. One of the other things, that we have been doing, and that is from the input side, is the formulation of model corporate governance guidelines. I mentioned earlier that separation of the finances, real separation of finances between the states and the discoms is considered to be one of the major initiatives. Corporate governance guidelines have been issued recently to all discoms to ensure both the financial as well as administrative separation on the ground between the discoms and the states, as an intervention on the right to consumers. I mean, because consumer centricity has to be increasingly gaining importance going forward, and that's why in December 2020, right to consumers electricity 2020 rules were issued. This will basically be forming a basis for all the standards of performance of discoms going forward. Another thing is that I mentioned about the AT&C losses. We are losing almost around 21% of energy, unbilled and unaccounted for energy into their systems. But countries like Bangladesh have really made wonderful efforts, and they're down to around 12%. Even all the neighborhood of India is doing very well on this count, and there's no reason why we should not be able to emulate them. Uh, Energy accounting is one of the major initiatives, and recently the BE has come out with energy accounting regulations, which lay specific emphasis not only on energy audit but on energy accounting. It has several interventions: 3 monthly energy accounting, followed up by one yearly this thing, and one yearly audit. Beyond that, we are also looking at not only the the overall perspective of energy accounting, but how it will be done. Right now, we start off with the energy accounting in wherever possible through human means, but the major aim is to switch over to a completely humanless energy accounting, machine to machine accounting. Some Central Electricity Authority has also come out with certain regulations supporting the prepaid smart metering. In fact, you might be aware that we were assessing discoms through integrated ratings being done by PFC. The integrated ratings basically revolve around the financial and operational aspects of the discoms. But we are now shortly going to come out with the first such consumer service rating of discoms, probably in the next month or so, which will basically address and ascertain the performance of discoms in terms of quality and reliability of electricity supply, consumer services, and track the performance of discoms on these aspects over a period of time. This will be an yearly activity. Last but not the least, the government of India has also taken initiatives to privatize its electricity distribution in the union territories. A lot of progress has already happened on the process. Needless to say, improvement in efficiencies of discoms would also ease the pressure on tariffs as well as on the public exchequer. At the end, I would like to compliment ISGF and the team DUM for continuing this activity, this dialogue process. We would also appreciate if the proceedings of the deliberations and major outcomes and ideas can be sent to the ministry after the proceedings are over, because these ideas, the generated ideas uh, out of the industry and out of the discoms, they are the ones that we pick up and look at putting into our interventions. Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kapoor, for joining
discussion before Q&A. Request audience members, participants to